In the quiet of ancient times, when myths shaped the world, a story of a goddess begins. Her name is Athena, the eternal guardian, born not of earth, but of wisdom itself. She emerged fully grown, radiant and strong, from the mind of Zeus, king of the gods. No cry of birth, no tender infancy, only brilliance forged from divine thought. Athena was not just a goddess of war, but of reason, crafts, and the balance of justice. She carried the spirit of clarity, guiding both mortals and heroes with steady counsel. Her presence brought calm in chaos, vision in darkness, and courage without cruelty. The ancients looked to her as a light, a voice that whispered truth when silence was heavy. Athena belonged not only to Olympus, but to every city that sought wisdom over pride. Her gift was not destruction, but creation. The olive tree, the loom, the sacred art of thought. She became the patron of Athens, a city named for her, alive with her blessing. This is her story, not of battles won with steel, but of victories won with the mind. Tonight, let us journey through time and listen to the voice of the eternal goddess. Long ago, in the age when gods shaped the skies, a strange moment unfolded upon Olympus. The air trembled, the heavens quaked, and Zeus, the thunderer, felt a storm rise within. It was no storm of lightning or cloud, but a pressure of thought swelling inside his mind. The gods gathered in awe, whispering among themselves, unsure of what was soon to come. From deep within Zeus's head, a brilliance began to stir, brighter than dawn, sharper than flame. Then, in a burst of divine light, Athena emerged, radiant and complete, a vision of wisdom. She was not fragile like a child, nor burdened by weakness, but strong, calm, and eternal. Her eyes carried the light of reason, her hands the grace of creation, her spirit the truth of balance. The gods gasped, for they had never seen a birth not of body, but of pure thought. Athena stood tall, crowned with the aura of clarity, robed in dignity, free of fear or doubt. Her presence was not thunder, not fire, but the steady stillness of the mind awake. Zeus beheld her with pride, for she was his daughter. Yet unlike any child of Olympus before, she bore a shield not for bloodshed, but as a symbol of protection and steadfast resolve. She held a spear not for cruelty, but for courage guided by reason and higher purpose. From the first moment, Athena was more than a goddess of war. She was wisdom itself. The gods soon saw in her the harmony of strength and thought, unlike the fury of Ares. For while Ares thrived on impulse and the clash of conflict, Athena sought balance and vision. Her power was not in destruction, but in the knowledge to avoid ruin before it began. She became the goddess of strategy, the guardian of just cause, the patroness of noble reason. Mortals would one day look to her not for terror, but for guidance in times of doubt. She would whisper to their hearts in silence, urging them toward choices born of clarity. From her very birth, Athena carried a destiny that reached far beyond Olympus's golden halls. Her essence was tied to the future of cities, to the weaving of law, to the birth of culture. Even in her first breath, she was not bound to Olympus alone, but to all who sought wisdom. The other gods watched, some in awe, some in unease, for they sensed her quiet power. Yet Athena did not boast, nor raise her voice, but stood serene, certain of her path ahead. For she knew her place was not in endless rivalry, but in guiding both gods and mortals. Thus began the tale of Athena, the goddess who was born of thought, not of flesh. Her first step upon Olympus marked not only her arrival, but a promise to the world below. a promise that wisdom would always walk alongside strength, and light would temper the storm. In the heart of ancient Greece, there stood a city yet unnamed, cradled by sea and stone. Its people were proud, restless, and eager for a patron who would guard their destiny. Two great powers of Olympus turned their gaze upon it, each offering a gift of favor. Poseidon, lord of the sea, lifted his trident and struck the earth with thunderous force. From the broken rock surged a fountain of salt water, clear and sparkling beneath the sun. The crowd marveled, for they thought of ships, of waves, and the promise of seafaring might. Yet the water was bitter to taste, and the land around it bore no harvest for their hands. Then Athena stepped forward, serene and radiant, her eyes filled with calm resolve. She touched the soil gently, and from it rose a tree, tall and green, crowned with silver leaves. It was the olive tree, a gift of peace, nourishment, and unyielding strength in every root. Its branches promised oil for light, fruit for food, and wood for craft to build and endure. The people whispered among themselves, weighing the sea's might against the tree's quiet power. Poseidon frowned, for his gift was mighty. Yet Athena's gift was enduring and kind. The city's elders spoke at last, their voices steady, choosing wisdom over the roar of waves. They crowned Athena their patron, naming the city Athens in her honor for all time. Joy spread among the people, for they saw in the olive not conquest, but lasting prosperity. The tree grew at the city's heart, its roots deepening as the years carved history into stone. Travelers came and saw the olive, a living sign that wisdom had triumphed over pride. Athena's gift was more than a tree. It was a promise that knowledge sustains when power fades. The people learned that true strength is not in striking, but in building for generations. Athens flourished, guided by the values she had sown, a beacon of thought and art. The olive tree's shade sheltered poets, philosophers, and dreamers who shaped the world. In every leaf, they saw Athena's hand, steady, patient, guiding them toward higher paths. Poseidon's waves still roared at the shores, yet Athens belonged to the wisdom of the goddess. The myth lived on, told by firelight, sung by bards, carried through the centuries unbroken. It was not a tale of rivalry, but of choice, the eternal choice between might and wisdom. Athena's tree still stood as the world changed, its roots binding the city to her spirit. And so, in the heart of Greece, the goddess claimed not with thunder, but with timeless grace. Her presence lingered in every olive branch, a reminder that peace outlives the fury of storms. The people knew from then on that the greatest gifts are those that nurture, not destroy. Athens carried her name with pride, becoming a city where light of thought would never fade. Thus, the olive tree became her eternal emblem, a symbol of wisdom's gentle strength. In the songs of old, Athena was not only a goddess of cities, but a guide to wandering heroes. When mortals faced trials beyond their strength, her wisdom often walked beside them unseen. She did not roar like thunder or strike like fire, but whispered counsel in quiet moments. Her presence was subtle, like a steady hand upon a shoulder in times of doubt and fear. Among the first she guided was Perseus, a youth chosen to face the monstrous Gorgon. The gods armed him with gifts, but it was Athena who gave the clearest path to victory. She offered a polished shield, not for war alone, but as a mirror to reveal hidden dangers. In its surface, Perseus found the way to face Medusa without falling to her petrifying gaze. Thus, he triumphed, not by brute force, but by clever thought and the goddess's wise gift. Her aid was not in bloodshed, but in clarity, helping mortals see beyond the veil of fear. Later, she stood by Heracles, the strongest of men, burdened by labors set by fate. Though his might was unmatched, it was Athena who steadied his path when strength faltered. She guided him through tasks of cunning, where muscles alone could not shape the outcome. Her presence reminded him that wisdom and strength together make a greater power. Athena also favored Odysseus, the clever wanderer lost upon the endless sea. To him, she was more than a goddess. She was a companion of mind and spirit. When storms raged and despair grew heavy, she sent him dreams filled with guidance. Her voice whispered in silence, teaching him patience, strategy, and the art of endurance. Without her light, the long voyage home might have withered into hopeless wandering. With her, Odysseus carried the wisdom to survive storms, snares, and the trials of time. In each of these tales, Athena's role was never to strike the final blow herself. Instead, she inspired mortals to rise beyond fear, to choose thought where rage would fail. She was not the sword, but the mind that guided the hand, holding it with purpose. Where Ares delighted in the clash, Athena sought the moment when wisdom turned battle aside, stood not only with heroes of great fame, but with countless nameless souls. A farmer deciding in hardship, a craftsman weaving order from chaos, all felt her touch. Her guidance was like a lantern in the dark, subtle but steady, never forcing, always leading. Thus Athena became known not only as a goddess of war, but as protector of heroes. She was the quiet companion in every journey, the unseen teacher in every trial. Through her, the world learned that the greatest victories are not of steel, but of mind. And so her name endured, carried by those who found strength in her wisdom. For wherever courage needed direction, there the eternal goddess stood close at hand. Athena was more than a goddess of battle, for her gifts reached into the heart of creation itself. She taught mortals the art of weaving, where threads became symbols of destiny and harmony. In the loom's rhythm, people learned patience, balance, and the beauty of shaping order from chaos. Her craft was not simple work, but a lesson that creation is an act of divine wisdom. Through weaving, Athena showed that skill and thought could bind communities together in strength. The hum of looms filled the homes of Athens, echoing her presence in every woven cloth. Women and men alike carried her teachings, shaping garments, tapestries, and symbols of culture. The loom became not only a tool, but a sacred act of remembrance to the goddess. Athena also shared knowledge of pottery, shipbuilding, and tools, guiding mortals to progress. Where other gods offered might, she offered skill, a gift that could endure across generations. The city under her care grew, not with fire and conquest, but with craft and wisdom. Every olive press, every woven thread, every crafted tool whispered her eternal influence. She was a goddess who taught that true strength is not destruction, but creation itself. Among the myths told of her craft was the tale of Arachne, a mortal with skill. Arachne wove with such beauty that whispers rose, comparing her to Athena herself. The goddess appeared, not to destroy, but to guide, testing humility and reverence for wisdom. Yet Arachne's pride was great, and she refused to honor the divine source of her gift. The contest between goddess and mortal was not of blood, but of artistry and vision. Threads crossed upon looms, creating worlds of story, image, and meaning within fabric's frame. Athena's weaving shone with the god's majesty, balanced and radiant with divine harmony. Arachne's tapestry was bold, flawless, yet filled with defiance against the gods of Olympus. When the weaving was done, both works shone with brilliance, equal in craft and form. But Arachne's pride burned brighter than her art, and it blinded her to reverence. Athena, in sorrow, touched her, transforming her into the first spider, master of endless weaving. It was not cruelty, but a reminder that gifts must be cherished, not claimed in arrogance. From then on, spiders spun webs in silent tribute to the goddess's enduring lesson. Mortals saw in every thread of silk the power of skill tempered by wisdom. Athena's craft was more than cloth or tapestry. It was the shaping of destiny itself. She wove the idea that creation, guided by thought, is the highest form of strength. Her lessons spread, carried into every home, every workshop, every city touched by Athens. Even philosophers saw weaving as a symbol of the cosmos, threads crossing in perfect balance. In every woven fabric, in every crafted tool, there lived the spirit of the goddess. Athena's wisdom was not only in counsel for heroes, but in the daily lives of mortals. Through her gifts, the world learned that wisdom creates, sustains, and binds life together. Thus she became eternal not only in myth, but in every act of skill and creation. In the stories of mortals, justice was once a fragile thing, shaken by anger and bound to vengeance. Before Athena's guidance, disputes often ended with blood feuds, cycles of harm that never ceased. Families fought against families, and the cries of grief echoed longer than the joy of peace. But Athena, goddess of wisdom, looked upon these endless quarrels with a heart full of vision. She knew that true justice could not grow from rage, but from balance, fairness, and reason. Thus she descended among mortals, bringing with her a new way to see right and wrong. It was she who first taught that mercy and law together create a foundation for harmony. One of her greatest acts of justice was in the trial of Orestes, a man pursued by Furies. Orestes had avenged his father, yet in doing so had shed the blood of his own kin. The ancient laws demanded punishment, and the Furies chased him with relentless cries for revenge. But Athena would not allow the world to remain chained to vengeance without end. She gathered a council of citizens, the first jury, to listen, weigh, and judge with care. The trial was not of swords or wrath, but of voices, arguments, and the search for fairness. Athena herself presided, not as an executioner, but as a guide for balance in the city. The Furies demanded vengeance, while Orestes pleaded for mercy, torn between duty and guilt. The jury's voices split, half calling for punishment, half for forgiveness of his burden. At last, Athena cast her own vote, breaking the tie, choosing mercy over endless bloodshed. She declared that justice must end cycles of violence, guiding mortals toward a brighter law. The Furies, fierce and wild, at first raged against her choice, shaking earth and air with fury. Yet Athena soothed them, offering honor, a place in the city as guardians of justice itself. In her wisdom, even anger was transformed into protection, wrath into guardianship of fairness. The people saw that her way was not weakness, but strength rooted in peace and order. From then on, Athens carried courts of law, where disputes found words instead of blades. Athena's hand shaped not just temples or crafts, but the very fabric of human society. She proved that the greatest power was not in vengeance, but in guiding mortals toward truth. Her lesson was simple yet eternal. Justice must listen, balance, and lead beyond cruelty. The city grew strong under this gift, for no longer did fear rule every quarrel of men. Instead, there was trust in fairness, in reason, and in the wisdom of shared judgment. Athena's presence lingered in every courtroom, her voice echoing in each plea for balance. She was the goddess of justice, not through punishment, but through compassion, bound with order. Her spirit whispered that fairness protects more than walls, for it shields the soul of a city. And so her name was tied forever to the law, to trials, and to the hope of peace. For where justice lives, guided by wisdom, there the eternal goddess stands in quiet strength. Long before Athens was crowned with marble temples, the land was dry, and its people longed for sustenance. The gods themselves once gathered to decide who would claim this city as their own. Among them stood Poseidon, lord of the sea, and Athena, goddess of wisdom and craft. Poseidon struck the earth with his trident, and from the rock sprang a fountain of water. But the water was salty, unfit for drinking, a symbol of power, but not of life. Then Athena stepped forward, calm and steady, and laid her hand upon the soil. From the ground grew a tree, green and full, its branches heavy with silver-green leaves. It was the first olive tree, a gift unlike any that mortals had seen before. The people marveled, for its fruit offered food, its oil gave light, and its wood built homes. It was not a gift of force or might, but of nourishment, hope, and lasting strength. The gods debated, but the people chose, and they honored Athena for her life-giving gift. Thus, the city was named Athens, forever bound to her wisdom and eternal presence. The olive tree became her symbol, rooted deep in the heart of the Acropolis. It whispered of peace, prosperity, and the enduring power of thoughtful creation. Travelers came from far lands, seeking the oil of Athens, golden drops of the goddess's gift. The tree itself became a sacred emblem, guarded and cherished through generations. Even when empires rose and fell, the olive tree remained, a living memory of the goddess. It taught mortals that true greatness was not in conquest, but in sustaining life. For from the olive tree came nourishment, healing, light, and the essence of survival. Athena's choice was simple yet profound, giving a gift that could endure all storms. Unlike Poseidon's salt water, her gift bound the people to earth and to one another. It was a reminder that wisdom looks not only at glory, but at the needs of the future. Every harvest of olives was a quiet prayer to the goddess, a celebration of her foresight. The city grew strong not through force, but through trade, peace, and the olive's bounty. Athena's gift became the heart of Athens, shaping its spirit and its destiny. The olive crown adorned victors, not as a mark of war, but of honor and unity. Its branches waved in festivals, its oil burned in temples, its roots held the city firm. For in the gift of one tree lay the story of a goddess who chose peace over pride. Athena taught her people that strength endures when it nourishes rather than destroys. The tale of the olive tree became a beacon, retold across the centuries in her name. Thus Athens was not only a city of stone and people, but of wisdom rooted in earth. And beneath every olive branch, the whisper of the goddess could still be heard in silence. Heroes often sought Athena's guidance, for her wisdom was the compass that steered them through trials. Unlike other gods, she did not demand blind devotion, but offered counsel to sharpen their minds. Among the greatest of these heroes was Odysseus, the wanderer, clever and enduring. When he faced storms and monsters, it was Athena who stood as his unseen ally. She whispered courage into his heart and clarity into his thoughts when despair surrounded him. Her wisdom helped him see paths that were hidden, where brute force alone could not prevail. It was she who guided him to craft the Trojan horse, a symbol of cunning over strength. While others relied on swords, Athena taught that strategy and patience could alter the tide. Even when Odysseus was lost at sea, far from Ithaca, she never abandoned him. Her presence was subtle, a guiding wind, a thought in the night, a friend unseen. Through him, mortals learned that intellect and endurance were weapons as mighty as any blade. But Odysseus was not the only one to walk beneath the shade of her protection. Perseus, destined to face the monstrous Medusa, found Athena by his side. She gave him a polished shield, not to strike, but to see without being consumed. The shield became his salvation, for through reflection he could face what no mortal eyes could bear. Athena's gift was not in slaying, but in teaching him to turn danger into triumph. Her aid was wisdom wrapped in courage, reminding mortals that clarity is a form of power. She showed heroes that tools, symbols, and thought could bend fate as surely as steel. For each hero she touched, her guidance was not force, but insight shaped for their journey. She reminded them that strength must be guided by vision, or else it falters into ruin. Athena's way was not to fight in their place, but to awaken what slept within them. Odysseus found resilience, Perseus found courage, and countless others found hope in her presence. Through them, her lessons spread into the world, shaping myths and inspiring generations of mortals. They spoke not only of battles won, but of wisdom learned, lessons carried through the ages. Athena's hand was in every moment, when thought conquered fear, when strategy defeated chaos. She was the goddess who stood not just at the edge of war, but in the heart of choice. Mortals saw her not as distant, but as a companion walking beside them in silence. Her gifts were not of fleeting glory, but of guidance that endured across time. The heroes honored her not only with temples, but with their stories of triumph and wisdom. And in every tale, her voice echoed. Victory without wisdom is hollow, but wisdom lasts forever. Athena was more than a goddess of wisdom. She was also the guardian of cities and their people. Her name lived in the stones of Athens, but her spirit stretched across all of Greece. She was seen as the protector of order, the shield against chaos that threatened human life. Temples rose in her honor, not as monuments of power, but as sanctuaries of guidance and hope. The Parthenon itself became her dwelling place, a beacon of marble shining upon the Acropolis. Every column stood as a symbol of balance, strength, and harmony, echoing her eternal presence. Within its halls, mortals offered prayers not for conquest, but for wisdom to lead their lives. The city looked to her for protection, believing her spirit hovered above its walls and streets. She was called Polius, guardian of the city, the one who watched over its destiny. When enemies threatened Athens, the people prayed not only for victory, but for her counsel. They believed she guided their leaders, sharpened their strategies, and steadied their courage. Even in times of peace, her presence lingered in the daily rhythm of the city. Her festivals, like the Panathenea, brought the people together in joy and celebration. There, music, games, and processions filled the streets, all honoring their eternal goddess. The sacred robe woven for her statue each year was a living act of devotion. It told stories of gods and heroes, stitched with care as an offering of gratitude. Children grew up knowing her name, whispered in lullabies, and spoken in prayers at dawn. She was not distant, but part of their lives, woven into the fabric of their days. Farmers asked her blessing for harvest, craftsmen for skill, sailors for safe passage on seas. Even in small tasks, the people felt her wisdom guiding their hands and hearts. Unlike other gods who demanded fear, Athena inspired trust, respect, and loyalty. She was honored not for her wrath, but for her gift of protection and guidance. Athena's protection was not always loud or seen, but steady like the roots of an olive tree. She strengthened the city not through walls alone, but through unity and shared purpose. When citizens gathered in assembly, they believed her wisdom touched their decisions. For every law, every choice, every act of justice was a reflection of her spirit. Thus Athens flourished, not only in power, but in art, thought, and philosophy. Her guardianship created space for poets, sculptors, and thinkers to shape their gifts. In their works, her presence echoed, inspiring ideas that would outlive empires. To the people, she was not only their goddess, but their eternal companion. The city carried her name, and she carried the hopes of its people within her. Through her protection, Athens became more than a city. It became a light for the world. And within that light, the eternal goddess Athena remained, guiding, guarding, and enduring. Legends say Athena's wisdom was not only for heroes and cities, but for the soul of humankind itself. She carried lessons that touched not just the grand stages of history, but the quiet hearts of mortals. Her voice was heard in the silence before choices, in the stillness where fate was decided. She reminded mortals that courage without thought is reckless, but thought without action is hollow. Her wisdom lived in balance, guiding each person to stand steady between fear and pride. To farmers, she taught patience, for the earth rewards those who labor with care and foresight. To sailors, she gave clarity, for the sea is vast, and only steady minds navigate its storms. To craftsmen, she offered precision, for beauty and strength live in the harmony of detail. To rulers, she gave fairness, for power without justice crumbles like sand under the tide. Every lesson she offered was a thread, woven into the fabric of daily life. Mortals did not always see her, but they felt her presence in moments of choice. She was the whisper that said, "Wait," when anger rose, or act, when fear froze the heart. In this way, she shaped not only heroes, but every soul that sought her quiet guidance. Her wisdom was not a distant flame, but a lantern held close to light each step. Even in the simplest acts, planting a seed, forging a tool, speaking a kind word, she was there. Athena showed that greatness was not only in battles won, but in lives lived with thought. Her gift was the reminder that every mortal could hold wisdom within their own spirit. She did not demand temples for herself alone, but asked that wisdom live in the people. Thus, the city of Athens became not only hers, but also a reflection of her spirit. It was a place where philosophy grew, where questions mattered as much as answers. Athena's light shone in the debates of thinkers, the art of sculptors, the songs of poets. Her wisdom was never locked away, but shared, spread, and sown into the world like seed. Through her, mortals discovered that the divine could live within their choices and their will. The goddess of wisdom taught that every life could be noble, every thought a sacred gift. She asked only that people seek balance, clarity, and the courage to act with purpose. Even today, her name lingers, not only in ruins of marble, but in ideals carried forward. For whenever wisdom guides courage, whenever fairness shapes power, Athena walks beside us still. The eternal goddess lives not only in myth, but in the hearts of those who seek her path. And in every choice for peace over chaos, for wisdom over pride, her spirit is reborn. The story of Athena does not end with temples, myths, or marble ruins that stand against time. Her essence lives on, not in stone, but in the choices people make every single day. Each act of fairness, each word of truth, each thought of clarity carries her unseen blessing. Athena's eternal presence is not about battles or victories, but about wisdom that never fades. She is the reminder that every mind holds power, every heart holds strength, every soul holds light. The world remembers her, not because she ruled, but because she guided with balance and care. She never sought blind devotion, but understanding, asking mortals to reflect before they act. Her name became a symbol of clarity in chaos, of reason shining in the darkest storms. Generations turn to her stories not only for myths, but for lessons stitched into daily life. To students, she is the spark of curiosity, the urge to ask questions that uncover hidden truths. To leaders, she is the voice that whispers of justice, urging power to bend toward fairness. To dreamers, she is the shield of hope, reminding them that courage must stand with wisdom. Her myths became mirrors, reflecting the ideals that mortals strive for, but often forget. She teaches that greatness does not come from might, but from balance, foresight, and restraint. Her temple may stand in ruins, yet her spirit rises in classrooms, courts, homes, and hearts. Every thoughtful choice, every pursuit of peace, every fair decision awakens her eternal flame. Athena does not fade because she belongs not only to the past, but also to the present. She belongs to every person who chooses truth when lies are easier, wisdom when pride tempts. The eternal goddess is not only remembered but lived, her lessons carried across ages. She shows that immortality is not in stone statues, but in the ideals people choose to keep. Her story reminds us that wisdom is not distant, but within reach of every willing mind. In her way, she has never left, walking beside humanity in silence, in thought, in choice. Athena's eternal battle is not against enemies, but against ignorance, chaos, and blind pride. She fights not with weapons, but with insight, not with force, but with the strength of clarity. And every time a soul pauses, reflects, and acts with fairness, Athena's legacy shines again. Her immortality is proven not by her name alone, but by the wisdom alive in human hearts. The story of the eternal goddess is therefore not finished, but still being written today. For Athena lives wherever justice is chosen, wherever courage meets thought, wherever truth endures. Her eternal flame burns quietly, guiding humanity not with commands, but with the gift of wisdom. And so her journey continues, not in myth alone, but in us who walk the path she lit. As we come to the end of this journey, Athena stands before us, timeless and eternal. Her story is not one locked in the past, but one that breathes within our present lives. She is the goddess of wisdom, yet also the companion of mortals seeking balance and truth. Every myth of hers carries not only wonder, but also a message etched for every generation. The goddess who guided heroes also guides the silent, unseen battles of the human spirit. She whispers to the student who doubts, to the leader who wavers, to the dreamer who fears. Her voice is soft yet firm, reminding us that strength lies in thought before action is taken. She teaches that wisdom is not distant, but alive in choices made with care and courage. Athena's presence has always been more than legend. It is the light carried within humanity. Her shield may be ancient, her temple worn, yet her spirit burns bright in modern hearts. For whenever justice is chosen, whenever fairness prevails, her eternal flame shines again. She asks us not to worship blindly, but to reflect, to think, to honor the gift of reason. In her, we see that greatness is not in conquest, but in the harmony of mind and heart. The city of Athens was her gift, but her true gift is the wisdom planted in every soul. Her eternal battle is not against enemies, but against ignorance, pride, and reckless haste. And every time humanity pauses to reflect, her wisdom lives once more in the present. Through centuries, her story has survived because her ideals are the pillars of humanity. Temples fall, statues crumble, but the spirit of wisdom is stronger than stone or time. Her immortality is not marble, but the quiet strength found in those who choose truth. Athena is a goddess, yes, but she is also a mirror, reflecting what humans may become. Her story tells us that we too are capable of carrying wisdom into every small act. Every choice of kindness, every moment of thought, every act of justice belongs to her. She lives in classrooms where ideas flourish, in homes where fairness guides families. She lives in courts where justice is sought, in hearts where courage meets clarity. The eternal goddess walks with us not as ruler, but as guide, steady and silent. And so, her story does not end here, because her flame is carried by all who remember. She is reborn each day in the hands of those who choose wisdom over pride, peace over chaos. The final truth is simple. Athena's journey is not only hers, but humanity's as well. For as long as we seek knowledge, balance, and justice, her spirit will never fade. The eternal battle goddess remains, not in myth alone, but alive in the choices we make.